This is a mid-year budget update without new cost of living measures, which might be controversial, and not quite a budget surplus, but many are saying it will be one anyway. Let's have a quick look at the key numbers we've just heard there. First of all, that budget bottom line. As you can see, in the first year, the current financial year, way better than expected. It was going to be a $14 billion deficit, now only $1.1 billion. A big improvement in the second year as well before it tapers off. So what about that year? Why will we think this will actually be a budget surplus? Let's have a look at GDP growth first of all. No major changes here on the GDP front. So as you can see, it's a slight upgrade. So if anything, things are going a little bit better here. So there's one reason to think maybe the surplus is within reach there. Unemployment, what about this factor? Well, this might look like everything is steady as she goes. This prediction, 4.25%, is the same as the update. But right now, unemployment is 3.7%. In other words, it's not going up by as much as previously thought. That makes a big difference to the budget bottom line. So this right now, 4.25%, that looks very pessimistic. Inflation, this is what you're worried about at home. You can see this is looking higher now. Higher for longer is the realistic picture on inflation, and that was impossible to ignore, that red figure there in the budget update. What about wages versus inflation as well? In other words, to what extent are you going backwards? You can see 3.75% inflation there versus 4% wages, and then back underneath as well. So this is where wages supposedly are running well above inflation by 25, 26. That's the claim. We've seen this fail before. Let's get to our expert panel on this. Laura Jays, Ross Greenwood and Andrew Connell. How is this budget going to be received?
Well, Tom, I think it's interesting on a number of levels. There's obviously another surplus coming in 23-24. That's quite obvious, a $1.1 billion deficit. That's predicated on things like iron ore going back from $105 to $60 a tonne. I mean, and coal from $264 to $140 a tonne. Bank your surplus right now. He can make up the mugs if he likes. He said his predecessors were humiliated over their forecasts. Well, it was actually Wayne Swan, his former boss, who was also humiliated because he kept promising surpluses and not delivering them. And there is something here for Jim Chalmers in delivering what his former boss could not. On debt, he made a big song and dance on Sunday Agenda and generally about getting down debt, which he also did there. OK, fair enough, they have a bit. They used to go on about $1 trillion debt. Look at these papers, 25-26. That's net debt. Gross debt, we got $1 trillion debt again. So there you go, he got us a year or two off. And from the budget forecast, it's only $10 or $20 billion off. Then there's migration. We know they're trying to address this as a political issue. 510,000 people in the last year on this. The budget said there'd be 315,000 in the next year. This says there'll be 375,000 over that year. Before it dips to 250 they're hoping for, that's down from the budget forecast of 250,000. So are they really making that big a change to net migration? It's going up before it comes down, and when it comes down, supposedly, I've got my doubts about those figures, it's only down to what the budget forecast. Well, 10,000 less than that. And then finally, I guess I've got to sum it up by saying politically, they'll probably get bashed for not having just one cost of living relief measure in there. Could it have hurt the budget situation or inflation that much? Economically, do they deserve to be criticised? And I think so, for not doing enough to cut government spending, something which can bring down inflation.